Hello, my friends. So when I was 24, 25, I was a mental seeker. I was an absolutely crazy seeker. And what I mean by that is I would have done anything for freedom. I used to say I would walk round the world barefoot on broken glass to get what freedom, awakening, enlightenment, whatever it was I was seeking. I would walk round the world barefoot on broken glass to get it. It's like there was this huge will to escape the suffering I was in, really. That was my drive towards awakening. My drive towards awakening was to escape the suffering I was in, and that's why it was so strong. And so I was 25 or maybe 24, and I saw a video on YouTube of my teacher, Ananta Kranti. Well, she wasn't my teacher at the time. It's the first video I saw of her. And she scared me a little bit, I'm going to be honest. She's got a very powerful presence. And it was a video of her working with a girl, and this girl went through this, what looked to me to be a really profound healing and awakening experience, facilitated by Ananta just holding space for her. And she opened to this pain in her heart, and then she opened to this orgasmic bliss, awakening experience. And I was like, wow, I need to meet this woman. And the other thing I recognized in Ananta that she'd been through a lot of suffering herself. And because I was in a lot of suffering, and I'd come out of the worst of it, but I was still in a lot of suffering, I really resonated with it. I really resonated with the fact that she'd been through a lot of suffering. And it turns out she had been through a lot of suffering. She was put in prison in Japan when she was 31 years old. She was the only Westerner in there. She was arrested for possession of LSD that she was holding for a friend. And she had no idea when she was going to be released. So she's put into this Japanese prison. Everyone else is Japanese, she was experiencing racism, like abuse from the guards, all sorts of stuff. And eventually she purposefully got herself put in solitary confinement. And yeah, she just started experiencing a lot of suffering, obviously. And she'll tell the story much better than me, but she says she experienced suffering in such an intense way, and her body, emotions, and mind were stretched to the absolute limit. And after a year of this, working in a factory all day, every day, she got to a point where she was just in her room, and she was completely exhausted, completely finished. And she just lay back on her bed. And what happened was her consciousness, her awareness just started dropping into all the pain she was experiencing. The whole of the pain in her body she fully dropped into it. She fully experienced it. And she just kept dropping into it, until she went through into this. And this is my words, she'll explain it in her words, but this wide open space of being, this ocean of beingness, she just opened to that. And in that prison cell, where she was completely bound, completely suffering, completely beaten up, in a hellish experience, she was completely free. And she said in that experience, her heart just burst open, and she just felt this unconditional love. And she said the guards that used to beat her, the guards that used to shout at her or whatever they did, she just felt unconditional love for them, and she thought, you're the prisoner, I'm free. She woke up the next day, or she got up the next day, and she was walking around the prison, and she was completely free within this prison. She was completely at peace within herself. And she ended up spending the next 2 years there, opening and being in this deep space of peace and freedom. And then she got out of prison and came back to England, and all of her stuff, all of her old conditioning, all of the old traumas and patterns and whatever from childhood were coming up to be met into this space of freedom. And so she went through this process of meeting everything within herself that was from a place of unconsciousness, and healing it and integrating it. And she's really become very skilled at looking into the human condition, looking into human patterning, how we can undo unconscious dysfunctional patterning so that we can live from this freedom in everyday human life. And she's not some sort of guru, she's not some sort of teacher on a pedestal. She's a very normal human woman, but also an incredible being, and she's a brilliant teacher. So I went down to see her, and I was expecting a big awakening experience, because people who go to see her, many have these profound awakening experiences, and you watch them on YouTube and you think, I want that. So I went to every retreat of hers for about 3 years. I went a lot. I was like #1 student at the front of the class, always there. And I was always kind of expecting an experience to happen, but it never did for me. And maybe that's because I was expecting it too much. I was wanting it too much. But something else even more important than any experience happened. And that was that because I spent so much time taking in her teaching, and every word was resonating in my being. Every word was coming into my being. I was just drinking it in. And not just the words, the energetic transmission, what she'd been living for 25 years, what she'd gained through the difficulty of her experience, and through all the hours of bathing in being and living in that being. She was transmitting that to me whilst I was in these meetings. And I was just drinking it in, without even realizing. I was just enjoying being there, just sitting there, just like, just like opening to my own being. Her being was opening up my own being. And I just knew I had to be there, so I just kept going back, drinking it. And I don't think another teacher has ever resonated quite as much. And the reason for that is because Ananta's been through immense challenge in her life. And she's used the challenge, and she's awakened through the challenge. She's embraced the challenge of life. And she's found a way to stay free within the midst of the challenges of life. And what started happening, in my experience, very gradually over the last 10 years of going through this suffering and being on this path, is even though the challenges have continued continuously, I've started slowly opening to something within my heart which isn't challenged. Something within my heart which is okay. It's just okay. And that okayness is actually smiling. That okayness is actually peace. That okayness is actually love. And I've not had a big experience, but that okayness is love. That okayness is I can't think of another word, but it's just here. It's just here. And I appreciate the okayness so much, and because of the appreciation of it, because of the appreciation of the simple okayness, that okayness starts to shine. And it's absolutely wonderful. And it opens your heart. And so it was very important for me to meet Ananta. And I think she was a very important part of my path, a very important step on my path. And she showed me that you don't need to heal everything within yourself in order to be free. She showed me this. She didn't tell me this, she showed me this. Through me listening to her and experiencing her and experiencing the way she speaks and opening to the transmission. It was transmitted to me. There is a freedom that is free in the midst of challenge. Possibly because in her meetings, she feels everybody's stuff. She's very open, so she feels everybody's emotions and everybody's thoughts and everybody's stuff. But you can see she's still free. She's feeling it all, but she's still free. And we can feel it all and still be free. We can feel stuff from others and still be free, and we can feel our own stuff and still be free. And when you develop this sense of unmovable presence within your own experience, when you develop this sense of unmovable presence, then it's much easier for the conditioning within your body and mind to feel safe to unravel. Because it knows that you're not going to move. Because you're not going to be moved by it. And when you're not going to be moved by what comes up, then it's given permission to come up, and it's given permission to unravel out of your system and reveal the light of your being. Yeah. So Ananta has I'm hosting a 3-part series for Ananta. It starts on Saturday, the 4th of March. So I'd love to invite you to come. It will be, if you resonate with what I've been sharing on this channel, then you'll almost definitely resonate with Ananta, because a lot of what I speak comes from her. I've had many teachers. I've had lots of different teachers, and I've had about 5 root teachers who I've really gone fully in with, and I've taken their teaching into my being, and I speak their teaching. It's not mine. I'm speaking from, I've been gifted it from the amazing teachers that I've experienced. So yeah, if you'd like to join us, I'll be hosting it. I'm not going to be speaking much. I'll just introduce Ananta. And then she's gonna dive into a workshop. It's a 3-week long workshop. And then if you want to go further at the end, then there's a 3-month program after, which you're welcome to join if you'd like to. But yeah, you should definitely come for the 3-week workshop if you resonate with my teachings. You'll almost definitely resonate with hers. So I'll drop a link below, and you can sign up there, and I'll see you there. We start on Saturday. But yeah, thank you so much. I enjoyed sharing that about my experiences with her. So yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Namaste.